I used to be a pretty judgmental person. I admit it. I'd see a kid having a meltdown in a store and think, can't you control your child? I'd see someone struggling with a simple task and get impatient. My world was pretty small, seen only through my own eyes. Then, one Tuesday afternoon at the DMV, my entire perspective got a much-needed reality check. The place was exactly as you'd imagine. Long lines, fluorescent lights humming, and the collective sigh of people who would rather be anywhere else. I was in the queue, scrolling through my phone, trying to kill time. That's when they walked in, a mother and her son, who looked to be about 10 or 11 years old. At first, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The mom took a number, and they found a couple of empty chairs not too far from me. The boy was fidgeting, his eyes wide darting around the room. He was holding a small, blue toy car, running it over his leg again and again. Vroom, vroom, vroom. A soft, repetitive sound. The mom, she looked tired. Not just I missed my morning coffee tired, but a deep, bone-weary exhaustion that you could see in her shoulders. Still, she spoke to her son with a gentleness that was almost startling in that dreary room. She'd lean in, whisper something to him, and he'd nod, his focus never leaving that little blue car. As the minutes stretched into an hour, the room got more crowded, the noise level rose, and the air got stuffy. The boy started to get more agitated. The vrooming sound of his car got louder, faster. He started rocking back and forth in his seat. People were starting to notice. I saw the side-viz glances, the annoyed, and I'll be honest, my first thought was that old, familiar impatience. Here we go, I thought. Then the boy suddenly stood up and started flapping his hands, not in a playful way, but with a frantic, desperate energy. He let out a loud, high-pitched sound, a shriek that cut through the low hum of the DMV. Instantly, the room fell silent. Every eye was on them. The glares went from annoyed to openly hostile. I heard a man a few rows behind me mutter, "Seriously? Get a handle on your kid." Someone else scoffed. I could feel the judgment in the air, thick and suffocating. My own face flushed with a mixture of embarrassment and, I'm ashamed to say, annoyance. But the mother, she was incredible. She didn't get angry. She didn't yell or shush him. She didn't even seem to notice the dozens of eyes burning into her. Her entire universe, in that moment, was her son. She knelt in front of him, getting on his eye level. She didn't try to grab his hands or stop him from making the noise. Instead, she just put her hands gently on his shoulders. She started speaking to him in a low, calm voice. I couldn't hear everything she said, but I caught phrases like, "I know it's loud, buddy, and we're almost done, and just breathe with me." She began to take slow, deep breaths, and incredibly, the boy started to mirror her. His hand flapping slowed. The shrieking softened into a low hum. She pulled a pair of large headphones from her bag and gently placed them over his ears. He leaned his forehead against hers, and the two of them just stayed there for a moment, an island of calm in a sea of silent condemnation. He was still rocking, still humming, but the crisis had passed. He was coming back from wherever the noise and the lights and the crowd had sent him. She had guided him back, and that's when it hit me. Like a punch to the gut. I wasn't just watching a mother and her son. I was witnessing a display of unconditional love so fierce and so pure, it completely humbled me. I wasn't watching a problem child. I was watching a boy who was trying his best to navigate a world that was unbuilt for him, a world that felt like an assault on his senses. And I was watching a mother who was his anchor, his translator, his safe harbor. All my impatience, all my judgment, just melted away. It was replaced by a profound sense of shame. Who was I to judge them? I had no idea what their daily life was like. I had no idea what battles they had already fought just to get out the door that morning. The simple act of coming to the DMV, something I found merely annoying, could be a monumental challenge for them. The mother stood up, her hand resting on her son's shoulder. She looked around the room, not with defiance, but with a quiet dignity. Her eyes met mine for a brief second. There was no apology in them. There was no shame. There was just a quiet strength that took my breath away. In that moment, I wasn't an annoyed bystander anymore. I was an admirer. I was a student, and she was the teacher. She had just taught me a lesson about empathy, patience, and love that no book or lecture ever could. She was fighting a battle I couldn't see, and she was doing it with more grace and courage than I could ever imagine. Their number was finally called. She gently guided her son towards the counter. He was still holding his blue car, still wearing his headphones. As they walked away, I noticed something else. On the back of her tote bag was a blue puzzle piece sticker with the words Autism Awareness. It all clicked into place. The hand flapping, the sensitivity to noise, the repetitive behavior. This wasn't a bad kid. This was a child with autism, and this wasn't a bad mom. This was a superhero, disguised in everyday clothes, armed with patience and a pair of headphones. I sat there long after they were gone, my own number long forgotten. I thought about all the times I had made snap judgments about people, about situations I didn't understand. I saw a screaming child and assumed bad parenting, not sensory overload. I saw someone struggling and assumed incompetence, not a hidden disability. That day, I learned that we only ever see the tip of the iceberg. We see the behavior, but we don't see the reason behind it. We see the meltdown, but we don't see the struggle that led to it. We have no idea what other people are going through. My perspective didn't just shift that day, it was completely rebuilt from the ground up. I started trying to look at the world with more curiosity and less judgment. I started giving people the benefit of the doubt. I started to understand that compassion isn't about feeling sorry for someone. It's about trying to understand their world from their point of view. That mother and her son will never know the impact they had on me. They were just living their lives, navigating their world. But for me, they were a profound lesson. They taught me that the world is so much bigger and more complex than my own narrow experience. And they taught me that the most powerful thing we can offer each other isn't judgment, but a little bit of grace. So now, when I see a child having a hard time in public, or someone who seems a little different, I don't get annoyed. I take a breath, and I remember that Tuesday at the DMV. I remember the tired mom and the boy with the blue car, and I try to choose kindness. I try to choose understanding, because you never, ever know the battle someone else is fighting. Thanks for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, maybe share it with someone who needs to hear it. Remember to be kind to each other. See you in the next one.